Okay, welcome back. And I want to start off this second part by doing an exercise just for 2 minutes. I want to ask you to recollect one thing, just one thing, in the past week, just one thing that you have done your best for, just one thing. Just think about that on your own. Just trying to relate to one particular thing that you have done in the last week that you feel you have done your best for. Can I also ask you to try to appreciate something that is not related to you, or maybe somebody not related to you? For example, I appreciate I don't live in Yangon, I live in Taunji. Whenever I come to Yangon, I see the main street, the P road, to be very clean, and people keep it nice. Not just clean, but it's the people follow traffic rules, and they seem, the majority, not all of them, the majority of them seem to have empathy towards each other. The drivers, they are not related to me, but I see that. Despite many cars day and night, not many accidents, people can go about their life free of danger. So can I ask you to think of something unrelated to you, to appreciate it? Okay, thank you. Before we proceed to the next topic, is there any question? Anyone has any question? So far, okay.
Can it not be related with the topic we're talking about?
Sure.
So, for example, if somebody does something to you, and then if you do something back, it's going to be your fault. And if you don't do something back, it's not fair for you. So what do you do in that position?
I don't know the exact situation that you're talking about. I try to imagine the scenario. The scenario, for me, to protect myself, I have to find a better time. If I mean, the time sometimes means everything. Whether to react on the spot, or whether to kind of strengthen my position so that the person will think twice before doing something to me next time. I say this because when I was young, I also got bullied. And when I was bullied, as a young boy, I didn't know that I got traumatized. And when I grew older, I also bullied somebody else once. And when I grew even older, when I started meditating and learning psychology, I knew that in my mind when I was bullying somebody, because I want to show that person, that innocent boy, that I was a strong one. When I was bullied, I felt weak, I felt beaten, I felt ignored, I felt unworthy. So when I thought now I had more strength, I was bigger, I can bully somebody, I felt what we call self-worth. That's how psychology goes. This is how a damaged person goes on, reacting to people. So the first thing that I would like to do in that case is to protect myself, to check my mind if I'm in fear. If I think I'm in fear, I'm going to be kind to myself so that I am no longer in fear. That's the best protection, number one. Protection from outside, we can do that. We have our parents, we have our friends, we have police, we have law, to protect us. But internally, psychologically, sometimes we don't even know how to protect ourselves. Saying this doesn't mean that you can't fight back. You can always protect yourself. But sometimes, if we don't choose the right time, through our reaction, actually, we make things worse. So it's about judgment of time and also the means, how to cope with that. In psychology, well, instead of reaction, we talk about response. Response and reaction, these two things, people think they are different. Reaction means we are emotional at that time. Response, we are calm, we are reasonable, like that. So when you are in a position not to react but to respond, I think whatever you decide will be good for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope it makes sense to you. I want to, I'm sure some of you may have heard about growth mindset. We are going to listen to this one. Growth mindset and fixed mindset. Growth mindset people, they focus on the growing process. That is the effort. Fixed mindset people, they focus on the results. And they always compare their result with other people. So here we go.
If you operate in the world of sports or education, you've most likely heard of the term growth mindset. It's a concept that's sweeping the world and changing and improving the way that people learn. This powerful idea has been pushed forward by Stanford professor and best-selling author Carol Dweck.
For decades, I've been studying why some people succeed while people who are equally talented do not. And over the years, I've discovered that people's mindsets play a crucial role in this process.
These mindsets are really important when it comes to learning. Her work has uncovered two ways of thinking about skill and development. Some people have what's called a fixed mindset. They believe that skills and intelligence are set, and you either have them or you don't. That some people are just naturally good at things while others are not. In short, they believe that you are not in control of your abilities. Other people have what's called a growth mindset, and they believe that skills and intelligence are grown and developed. So people who are good at something are good because they built that ability, and people who aren't are not good because they haven't done the work. In short, they believe that you are in control of your abilities. Really, the core idea here is people with a fixed mindset believe that skills are born. People with a growth mindset believe that skills are built. People with a fixed mindset believe that you can't or don't have to learn and grow. And people with a growth mindset do believe in their capacity to learn and grow. Dweck's work shows that mindsets have a major influence on people's ability to learn, and that people who utilize this growth mindset tend to learn, grow, and achieve more over time than people with a fixed. Growth mindset really creates a solid foundation for great learning. And because of its power, companies, sports teams, and schools from all over the world are implementing this into their culture. Over the years, we've worked with a ton of amazing groups to help instill this within their culture. We're talking Fortune 500 companies, lots of colleges, lots of high schools, and even a few prisons who are working to build growth mindset into their reentry program. What I'm trying to say is this is bigger than one study or one TED Talk. This is a powerful concept that's helping lots of different people in lots of different places. Now, the reason it's so important and powerful is it is the foundation for learning. And if you understand this, no matter what you build on that foundation, it will be more powerful. But to really implement and run with this concept, we need to zoom in and look at the nuts and the bolts of it. We need to talk about what it actually is and how it actually works. Through years of work, Dweck and her team have uncovered sort of the defining characteristics of the two mindsets. This table really illustrates the contrast between the two. The first big characteristic we need to talk about is belief. Again, people with this fixed mindset believe that skills are born and therefore they can't or don't have to learn. People with a growth mindset believe that skills are built, therefore they can learn. The second major characteristic is focus. People in a fixed mindset tend to focus on performance and outcomes and results. In other words, their main focus, their main concern becomes how they look, and more specifically, to not look bad. People with a growth mindset tend to focus more on the process of getting better, of learning and growing. These mindsets and these characteristics have a huge influence on our ability to learn, and now we start to see why. Let's look at like the 4 key ingredients to growth: effort, challenges, mistakes, and feedback. The research shows that when somebody is in a fixed mindset, they look at effort as a negative thing, as something that you do when you're not good enough. They also don't see the value or purpose of putting in effort. They've been shown to back down and avoid challenging situations. They get really discouraged and worked up when they make mistakes. And when somebody with a fixed mindset receives feedback from a parent, a teacher, a coach, or a friend, they get defensive, they take it personally, and they don't see the value or purpose of the feedback. So in other words, people with this fixed mindset actually avoid and shy away from these 4 key ingredients to growth. Dweck and her team have shown that when people enter a growth mindset, they look at effort as a useful thing, as an important part of the learning process. They're actually more likely to embrace challenges and persevere and work through them. They see mistakes as learning opportunities, and when they receive feedback, they actually appreciate it and use it. Now, the fascinating and important part of this table is to connect the dots between these key characteristics of the two mindsets and our actions and behaviors towards learning. Let's look at the fixed mindset side first. They actually shy away from putting in effort because they don't believe that they can change. They give up when they're met with a challenge and things get hard because they don't want to look bad. So in their mind, the challenge becomes a threat, and because they don't believe that they can change. They hate making mistakes and are discouraged by mistakes because if you're making mistakes, you're not looking good. And they don't see the value or purpose of feedback because they don't believe in their capacity to grow. So in one way or the other, every single one of these actions is a byproduct of these characteristics. And the same is true on the growth mindset side. They see the value and purpose of effort because they believe in their capacity to grow. They're more likely to take on a challenge and persevere through it because they believe that they can grow and because they're focused on the opportunity to do that. So they frame a challenge as an opportunity to get better. And by focusing on the process and believing in their capacity to grow, they're more likely to understand how important mistakes are in this process. And when they receive feedback from a parent, teacher, coach, or friend, they're more receptive to this because their focus is on getting better and because they believe that that information can help them grow and they have the capacity to do so. 2 key points with this table. First, you're not just one or the other. This is a spectrum. And in different times, on different days, in different situations, you might be in a growth, while other times you'll slip into a fixed. But now that we understand how it works and we understand the characteristics, you can start to identify where you're at on the spectrum and, more specifically, the cause of that mindset. Is it our beliefs or is it our focus? Second, yes, these actions of learning are great, and they're definitely behaviors that we want. But we have to understand that they come from our mindsets. So to create a great culture for learning, it's about zooming in on beliefs and focus and creating a real growth mindset, which is one of the most important things we can do.
Focus and belief that determines our mindset, whether we have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. And here, as part of the discussion, I want you to focus on, say, in the class or with your coursework, with your project, when you make mistake, how do you feel about that? And do you feel that your mistake will make people look upon you as being stupid, meaning you worry about how other people look at you? Or whether you think a mistake is an opportunity to learn, because when we make mistake and we learn from that, we don't usually repeat that mistake. And it's a lot quicker process of learning. So one thing is to focus on how we react to our own mistake. The second thing is how we react to the feedback that we get, maybe from our teachers, from our peers, from our parents. Okay, I want you to discuss maybe a group of 4, if you like. Group of 4, you can move this way, bring your chair this way, so that you create more room. Okay. Sit in a circle, please. Sit in a circle. 4 people, a group of 4. you can move out this to create more space for them. A group of 4 people, 4 or 3 is okay. Okay. Can you sit in a circle? What about you? Only you, only 2 of you. Can one of you join this so that you have bigger? Yes. If the group is too big, you won't get the opportunity to speak. Okay. Okay. Can you move out a little bit? Move out a little bit. It's very good to speak to different classes. Come on this way, move to them. Okay. Okay. Can you form your group properly? Can you move back a little bit and you move? Not you. You move here and face them. Look at them. Come on here. Okay, one minute to go, 1 minute to wrap up, and I would appreciate now if you discuss a kind of summarize your discussion for each group and just one person representing the whole group sharing with the rest. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Which group is going first? Which group is going first? Okay. Okay, please. Yeah.
So our group was talking about how we perceive mistakes and how we can change them to improve for the better. When we make a mistake, it's bad. Yes, there are things that become bad because of the mistake, but it's always reverse. You can always make up for the mistake later. Whenever we make a mistake, we have to we need to work on receiving feedback, and we need to also work on receiving criticism and perceiving it as feedback. So if someone says bad, oh, this is bad, you did bad, then you have, and when they say something, oh, you did this wrong, you can ask them, oh, how do I do it correct? And then they might tell you. So this is basically what our group was talking about.
Thank you. I want to tell you, when I was about 16, I failed my exam. And I didn't want to talk to anyone because I felt so bad about myself. And my friends, even my close friends, they were trying to talk to me, trying to comfort me. I thought, each time they came forward to speak to me, I felt like they were trying to punch me. It's like that, because I took it so personally. I never saw anything positive in that year. But years later, when I hadn't known growth mindset yet, but I started practicing positive thinking. I look back, even the year I didn't pass my exam, I saw many good things. I discovered I learned many things. I developed myself a lot. But I wasn't good enough in the eyes of the examiners. And that was okay. That was okay. My friends who passed that year, some of them, maybe some of them were in growth mindset. So their learning process didn't go as smooth as they would have liked. So in the end, I graduated a lot earlier than them because I learned how to receive, as you said, how to appreciate criticism, but not all the time. Sometimes I get upset. Sometimes I feel very grateful for the criticism. So, which is the next group? I want every group to speak, to share, because this is a very good thing. In Burmese, we say this good, we share, we are learning together. It's a learning process, okay? Every group, thank you. Okay. You can add later,
No, I'm not saying. I just wanted to give her the mic. 'Cause I'm special. I'm part of the group. I was like, what?
It's okay.
Anyway, do I stand up?
I don't mind if two people from one group
Real, real. Okay. Yeah, So our group was basically discussing about whether we should whether something is a growth mindset and a set mindset. So some of us basically think that mistakes are basically bad, and some of us think that it's for our learning process. But mostly, most of our people in our group believe that it's both. Sometimes if you try so hard and do something and you have mistakes, you might feel bad about yourself. But in a fixed way, you don't like it. But as Tete said, I'm calling you out, okay. As she said, mistakes are basically proving that you're trying. And then as Mau said, if you make mistakes, you feel bad about yourself, you don't like it. And we were basically debating, but then at the end we agreed that one person can have many mindsets, fixed or growth. Anyway, whatever you do, it's your opinion and your mindset. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay, applause. At the end, the video also says, this is a spectrum. A spectrum is okay. We are either one way or the other. We are not always in a growth mindset, not always in a fixed mindset. But what we do is we try to promote growth mindset in ourselves. Okay, next. Which group is going next? Maybe your group, who is? Huh? Okay.
Okay, so in our opinion, I think growth mindset is more important for us because, like, there are a lot of positive things about growth mindset. So if you build a skill, then you're improving. But like, for a fixed mindset, you believe that you're born with that skill, but what if you have failed exams and you have that kind of mindset, fixed mindset, and then like you believe that you're always the type of person who would fail in exams?
I like to. Is it a question?
No.
Oh, no, you just please go on. Sorry.
And then I think that's my speech.
I like to kind of continue where you start with the question. When you fail exam, what you're going to do if you're in a fixed mindset. There is a book I haven't detected in your library here. It's called The Undefeated Mind. It's from a senior doctor from Chicago. When he was, I think, in his second year medical school, he failed exam. He failed his exam because of personal problem. And he was very upset because he really wanted to become a doctor. And he didn't know what to do because he didn't want to speak to his professor. He didn't want to consult with his professor to get some more feedback. But one day during that time, when he was looking for a way out, he went to a Japanese Buddhist center, and they were doing chanting, not meditation, just chanting repeatedly in Japanese. One short sentence that they keep repeating again and again and again and again. He was just sitting there with them. Within a few minutes, he got a break from his automatic thought, from his autopilot thought. And one positive thought came to his mind. He said, if I study the same syllabus for 2 years, I might learn more than other students. That positive thought came to mind. So now, with that positive thought, he went back to his professor. So is it okay if I repeat this exam, but I also move to the next year, which is the third year? And his teacher said, okay, you will have to do 2 exams that year, and also the repetition. And now, with positive mind, that I can grow, I can learn. If I learn this, maybe I remember more than others. I understand more than other medical students. One day, he passed all his exams. He became a doctor, and he became a specialist. He became a professor at Chicago Medical School. One day, a girl, from his medical school, also failed exam. She came to him, and she said, I had the same experience. When I had a fixed mind, I thought of quitting. But then I saw something positive in my failure. Usually we don't see anything positive in our failure. Even in our failure, we can still find positive. More so in our success. So this is what I learned from that book, The Undefeated Mind. So which is the next group? What about you guys? Okay, thank you.
So we talked about how we perceive feedback and how we can use mistakes to improve ourselves. And we also talked about our own mindsets and what we think we have. So Karkar thinks he has a growth mindset as well as Rusty.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to tell you a Buddhist story. The Buddha had two chief disciples. Okay, ancient Dharibodha and ancient Mogglan, that's in Burmese, how we pronounce them, or Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Mogglan, two chief secretaries. Venerable Sariputta was considered to be most intelligent person apart from the Buddha. And he was a growth mindset person. He tell himself, okay, he was telling himself, it would be nice if I have, he picked up with his hand, okay, sand from the beach. If I get this many people to give me feedback on my work, on my behavior, that would be wonderful, that would be the greatest blessing. And one other story that the Buddha's, when he was a prince, when he was a crown prince, his driver who took him to the forest when he left home. He also became a monk later, but he didn't care about anyone else because he thought everybody came after him, came later than him. He was the first to know Prince Siddhartha. So he never listened to anyone, he never listened to any feedback. Even the Buddha couldn't convince him to appreciate people's feedback. So after the Buddha, just before he passed away, the Buddha said, okay, you just ignore him. If you can't say anything to him, if he is not receptive, you just leave him alone. When he was left alone, he now knew how important friends were, how important their feedbacks were. So he changed himself and he became receptive. And straight away, he became enlightened because his learning became very sharp. Okay, maybe your group now. Okay.
Okay. So my group thinks that we all have like a growth mindset, but we think that we have a little problem with taking feedback and stuff. So sometimes, like there is a guy who gives us like lots of feedback. Sometimes we take the feedback as good and we would use it. Sometimes we take the feedback as like some sort of like bad idea and we won't use it. But sometimes we even think that the feedback somebody gives is like some sort of insult. The thing is, we think that we need is trying to say. So like before we like argue back at the feedbacker or like, you know, take any like advice from the guy who gives feedback, we need to like try to think what the feedbacker is trying to say. Yep, that's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. One thing that is not made clear in this video is that people who have fixed mindset, they are more self-centered and they focus on the results. Growth mindset people focus on the process. Even if I make mistake today, I can still correct it and tomorrow I get better. I get better. So that's the difference in focus. What about you? Is it your group now? Okay.
So my team talked about like learning from our mistakes, because we're human. Human nature is making mistakes, and we just have to learn if it's good or not. If people like give you like comments on ourselves, you must decide whether you should take it as a good comment or a bad comment. It's you who's gonna decide if it's a good comment or a bad comment. And then Cole said that his sister was saying negative things to him, but he knows that she just wants him to improve. And our family and friends may make mistakes to help make us sad or actually hurt our feelings without meaning to. And we just have to learn that they want the best for us. And sometimes we just have to understand people and not think that everything, like what everyone comments are bad. Whether even if it's good or bad, we must actually be silent and listen to them. Because if you know that the thing's gonna get worse when you're gonna reply to them, then just stay silent. Because staying silent is better than talking and replying to them. Because if you reply, there's gonna be mistakes in your words. But if you don't, then it's gonna be silence, and both of us can understand each other's feelings. Yeah.
Our team believes that a growth mindset and a fixed mindset are present in different situations. So for my team, for example, we believe that when we have things that we don't want to do or aren't good at doing, we have a fixed mindset. We don't really want to go ahead and continue doing it. But if we have something we can do, we want to continue improving it, so that can be our one specialty. Growth mindset and fixed mindsets happen in different situations, and a person can't always 100% have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset, because that would make them incredibly flawed or incredibly perfect, which is not possible in a human. That's what my team believes.
So in our team, we talked about what type of mindset we have. And we summarized that we all have fixed and growth mindset based on our moods, because sometimes when someone says something like bad comments, we get affected and our mindset completely went from growth to fixed. But also a few minutes after that, we try to go back to having a growth mindset, because like if we always have a fixed mindset, we will never improve. So yeah.
Hi, Dan. You're done. And your group? Same.
So we just believe that it's very dependent on the scenario. Like if you're like someone who's good at working by yourself, and then like you just suddenly fail so quickly, you're just like, wait, I can fix this. No need for your help. No need. And then but then when it's something that you're like not so good at, like you're completely fine with mistakes. You know that they're gonna happen already.
So our group focuses more on how we react to mistakes. Sometimes we blame others, and sometimes we blame ourselves. And if our mistakes impact others, we think that we should take accountability, but not to the point where we're really harsh on ourselves for those mistakes. And we shouldn't be too focused on the past, but focused on how we can improve and how we can do better in the future.
Growth mindset also impacts our motivation. When you are learning something and now your motivation drops, that affects your learning process and also the outcome. So how to keep your motivation high? How, especially when you encounter difficulty. I want to kind of share with you from this research. A group of 5 graders were given an easy test, and they all could answer. And they were separated into two groups. One group was praised for their intelligence. Wow, you must be quite smart. But the other was praised for their effort. You must have worked very hard. Then came the second test, where you have options, a more difficult one and some easy ones. The reason for a different design of the test is because the researchers want to know whether you're going to choose difficult options or easier ones. If you have choices, okay, harder options and easier option, who would go for easier option? Can you raise your hands? And the teacher would tell you, if you choose for the harder question, that's going to be good, you know, for your learning. It's going to sharpen your brain. So with that incentive, who would choose just easy option? Can you raise your hand a little bit higher? Okay, okay. Who would choose harder options? Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. The test is that, according to the results, 67% of students choose, well, 60% of the students who were praised for their intelligence, they chose the easy options because they thought if they chose harder questions, if they score less, that would reflect badly on them, and people would think they are stupid, they are not smart enough. So they would like to remain a kind of high in people's esteem. That is why they just care about the results and they went for easy options. 92% of the students who were praised for their effort, 92% chose for the harder questions. So I want you to focus mainly on your effort, especially the difficulty that you have gone through, that you have overcome, and be proud of that, no matter the results. Then in the research, there came the third test. The researchers gave the students impossible tasks, impossible question to answer. If you are year 10, they would give you maybe second year university question like that. They know you wouldn't be able to answer. Not because they want to get the answer, the correct answer from you, but they would like to test you psychologically. If you find an impossible task, how your motivation would remain? Would you lose your motivation straight away? Would you still go on looking for a way out? That's the test. So, the majority of the students who focus on their effort and not so much on the results, their brain is still active. People scan their brain. They don't know the result just like the other group. They don't know, but they don't give up. They remain committed to learning. But the other group, the people who were praised for their intelligence, their brain is not active anymore. In the face of difficulty, they give it up quite easily. In the end, there came the last test. The same question, the same easy question, as easy as the first one. Now the score is 50% different. People who focus on the effort, their score improved by 30%. People who were praised for their intelligence, their performance dropped by 20%. a difference of 50%. This is the difference in growth mindset and fixed mindset. So in the long run, if we remind ourselves often that we can improve and feedbacks are good, even if sometimes feedbacks are wrong, maybe unfair, but still, you know, we have choices to appreciate them. At least we appreciate their intention, if not the feedback itself. You can stay where you are, and we're going to watch another video, the last one. This is about motivation. It comes under the title of happiness. This is from Harvard professor. It's about having a purpose and meaning in life.
By the way, how are you feeling this morning? Yes, you. Happy? Not so much? Well, new polling shows happiness levels in the U.S. are on the decline, and it is especially prevalent in people under 30. Take a look at this curve. Historically, happiness is high when you're young. Then the deep, dark valley comes before happiness increases again, thankfully, with older age. But new research shows a shift in this happiness curve, largely based on Gallup polling. So the left side of the U shape is when people are younger, and that shows happiness starting out much lower and staying below the norm before eventually increasing. And this happiness decline isn't happening in a vacuum. Researchers also found that people between the ages of 18 and 29 report struggling with meaning and purpose, their health, developing close relationships, and financial security. So what's behind the rise in unhappiness, and can anything be done about it? Paging Arthur Brooks for help. He is a social scientist, happiness author, and host of the How to Build a Happy Life podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
So, you know, what is happening? Because, you know, we can understand why people have a lot of happiness when they're younger, but now we're seeing younger people with less happiness than before. What's happening?
So typically what has happened until relatively recent history is that people actually have a lot of enjoyment early on in life. And that kind of wanes a little bit when you start having kids and paying a mortgage and have a lot of pressure at work. And, you know, life is great as far as it goes, but then happiness picks back up again in your 50s, which I didn't know. By the time I got into my 50s, I said, oh.
Yeah, you finally get it.
Coincidentally might coincide with the kids moving out. But what we find lately is there's a new pattern emerging, which is that younger people don't have that bliss in their 20s. You find that they actually have higher rates of clinical depression, higher rates of generalized anxiety, and we actually know why. Which is they're having a harder and harder time answering the question, what's the meaning of my life? Which is amazing when you think about it. It's such a big philosophical question.
And that question has existed since the beginning of time.
Exactly right.
So why are younger people today struggling with that question?
Well, normally
others hadn't.
Well, you can't answer that question perfectly. It sort of eludes the words. Right. But what you find is that people were doing things in their life that gave them the sense of meaning that they're not doing today. There's really 5 things that people do in their lives that gives them a sense of meaning. They fall in love. They worship or follow some sort of serious life philosophy. They find a calling in their work. They understand beauty, especially in nature, and that they understand that suffering is a sacred thing, that suffering is a normal thing. And what you find today is people are less likely to fall in love. They're less likely to worship in a traditional, at least traditional religious faith. They're less likely to say that their work is the calling. They're less likely to be out in nature, and they're trying to eliminate their suffering as opposed to growing and understanding what the meaning of their suffering is.
So, Arthur, it does sound as if a lot of these causes could be alleviated by removing yourself from the internet or removing yourself from social media, only because a lot of the things that you say, for example, finding meaning in your work. If your work is being an influencer, it may make you a lot of money, but what is the true meaning in becoming an influencer and living your life entirely on social media? If you're not getting outdoors, or if you're not building a relationship, I've had young women.
Because you're doing this.
Remember, I did a story on dating now in 2025. This young woman told me she can't even meet guys because guys are still living at home and afraid to approach women because they don't know how to talk to them.
And apps actually don't generally lead you to the kinds of relationships that are most compatible with what you're actually looking for. There's more dates and less attraction when we're actually intermediating that on. apps.
I have lived that. Yeah.
I have lived that, but you got through it.
I did.
She did.
It's really important.
And then I met someone off the app.
Really?
Yes.
You met your husband not on the app?
Yeah. We were basically arranged by our families.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
I met my wife the old-fashioned way, which was a friend introduced us at a party.
Yeah.
But plenty of people meet on the apps and get married.
They do, but it's a harder way to actually fall in love because actually it doesn't have that complexity to it. It actually, what you're doing is you're reducing the complex experience of falling in love to a complicated algorithm, and it's not the same. There's no mystery in that, and we find meaning in mystery. That's how humans are actually wired.
Meaning in
I
mystery.
knew it.
Meaning in mystery.
That's actually right, and the mysterious parts of life. And look, we know the neurochemistry out of this works
That ties
too.
into all of your 5 things.
Yeah.
Because there's mystery in love, there's mystery in nature, there's
All of
mystery
it.
in
Calling,
in your calling.
suffering, nature and beauty.
The
It's
suffering
all
I don't
mystery.
quite understand.
No, the
like,
suffering.
why do we want to
in fact, I've always said that.
or appreciate suffering?
Of course.
I've always said that you gain an understanding and a deeper appreciation of life when you suffer.
Yeah.
The title of my book is going to be Thankful for the Pain. Because you embrace the suffering and you embrace the pain because it leads to an enlightenment.
Yeah, exactly. If I asked either one of you, tell me when you really understood, you can't articulate it exactly, tell me when you understood the meaning of your life. You wouldn't say that week at the beach in Ibiza.
Yeah.
You would no. You would actually talk about when my mother died, when I was afraid, when things were falling apart and I persevered. There's something about suffering that's unbelievably sacred, and we have an approach to suffering, especially for people under 30, that says if you're depressed or anxious or sad, it means something's broken and wrong. Well, let me tell you, life on earth has a lot of suffering to it. If you're not depressed and anxious ever, then you need therapy.
Wow. Really, really interesting. Thank you, Arthur Brooks, as always. That was today's By the Way.
Sorry to stop it before it finished. This is a professor from Harvard Business School, Professor Arthur Brooks. The other two are journalists. I want to introduce you to his work, this person. He teaches the science of happiness in a business school at Harvard University. So here, I just want to pick up one point, how they appreciate suffering. The suffering we cannot avoid. There are things that would disappoint us, that would frustrate us, and that would put us under pressure. We have those things in life, starting from exam, starting from relationship with parents, with friends, like this. So they're saying suffering is normal. But by doing that, they are not asking us to a kind of increase suffering. Rather, it's the other way around, to learn how to be calm and steady in the face of something that we don't want. And one thing that, from his work, he co-wrote a book, he co-authored a book that is a bestseller with Oprah Winfrey. How to Build a Good Life, that's the title of the book. In that book, one thing that I would like to emphasize today, because we don't have much time left, it's about purpose. When I say purpose, it means, okay, you enjoy studying math. It's just to get the best score, high score, so that you can go to a big university. That purpose is too small. According to him, you should have a bigger purpose. How math is important in engineering, in economics, in everyday life, in communication with other people in different parts of the world. So if we find a bigger purpose like that, we are likely to be happier, according to him. So if English is your favorite subject, then see how learning English can benefit you and many other people. Think about other people. If history is your favorite subject, by learning history, how a society learn how to not repeat their mistakes. for example. So that way. Now, I want to give you about 3 minutes on your own, 3 minutes in silence, just to reflect. How your favorite subject can benefit not just you, but also the wider society. Okay. What about closing our eyes and doing this? Just 3 minutes. We think about the benefit of the subject we are learning. How it's good for the wider society. If you learn mathematics, if you go on maybe learning physics, chemistry, or maybe engineering, economics, how that can benefit a country like Myanmar. Maybe Asia, maybe the whole world. I'm interested in psychology and meditation myself. And I see how people in the whole world. I have lived in England for 29 years. So I don't see any difference when it comes to emotion. I've been to a few countries in Europe and also to North America, a few in Asia. Emotion is what connects them, positive or negative. So I see my work as very important for the society. You can do the same through something you are interested in. With that, you will have a sense of purpose in your learning. A sense of purpose even in the process of learning when you make a mistake. Because you're learning something. This is not the correct way, so you learn about it. Thomas Edison, who created light bulb, he had to experiment it 10,000 times. In some people, he was making 9,999 mistakes. Actually, that was the question put to him by a journalist. But he said, no, I wasn't making 9,999 mistakes. Nor was I failing 9,999 times. In the whole world now, I know better than anyone else how not to make a light bulb. There were 9,999 ways of 9,999 ways through which you can't create a light bulb. When you knew them, then you come to see the one way that you could do that. And all the 10,000 ways are part of the learning process that's called research. One day, a factory, a machine in the whole factory, a huge factory stopped working. None of their engineers could fix that. So they had to call on a consultant from outside, and he came. And he used a hammer. He hit somewhere twice, and the factory started working again. And they asked him, how much are you going to charge us? Please give us a voucher. So he gave them $250,000. $250,000, that's a lot of money. So, how can you charge us? Can you give us in detail? So he produced just 2 details. Now you can open your eyes. Now he produced two details on the voucher, just 2. Okay, using the hammer and hitting one spot is $1, just $1. It costs. He would charge him only $1. Knowing where to hit was 2,000 and how much? $49,999. Do you get what the message? Okay, if I charge you for fixing your computer, I just press one button and then your computer start working again. I charge you $100, and you will ask me, excuse me, can you tell me some detail about this? I will tell you, pressing that button is only $1. Knowing that knowing where to press is $99. You got my message? The message from Thomas Edison is that 9,999 times when he couldn't produce the light bulb wasn't a failure. He didn't consider it a mistake. He was considering it as a part of the process. So he could maintain his motivation. Otherwise, he could have given it up long time ago, and it would have taken a lot more years to have the lighting that we have now. So now motivation and mindset come together. Our attitude also part of it. So to go back to the Harvard professor about happiness, having a wider purpose to serve the community, to want to be of service to the community, that helps us maintain our motivation, and also to be in a growth mindset more than a fixed. Any question? It's almost for any question. Any question from your group? Any question? Any question? Any question? Any question? Any question? Any question? Okay, if you haven't any question, I just would like to remind you today is Sunday. You have made a big effort to come here. It should be your holiday. Instead, you spent almost half a day, some of you, the whole day, MK and also Grace the whole day with me. So I really appreciate your effort, and applause to all of you.